Earlier in this course, we explored how dystopia is used as a metaphor for adolescence, comparing our Unit 1 novels, namely Lois Lowry's The Giver and M.T. Anderson's Feed, to an article written by Nadine Kruger. We learned in Unit 1 how dystopian novels are particularly popular amongst adolescents because they're able to portray societal change in the face of injustice in a way that many adolescents envy in their own lives. The catering to a hopeful, likely young adult audience can be seen predominantly throughout The Giver, where Jonas's first and only solution to adversity is to enact decisive and meaningful societal change. Because of the focus on intrapersonal enlightenment in the face of an unjust society, I theorized about how these main topics could persist in popular literature in a realistic fiction format. I ended up hypothesizing that the realistic novels in Units 2 and 3 would focus much more on the nature of adolescence in an unfair society than on the society itself. I then went on to hypothesize that the subjects and protagonists of these novels would most likely be a minority in some regard, whether it be financially, culturally, ethnically, or otherwise, in order to better portray and emphasize the effects of ostracism in a society. This aspect of my original hypothesis was proven correct. Junior, the protagonist of the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian, is a great example of this. He is a lower-class Native American who's suffered from hydrocephalus and attends an all-white school. Jin is the child of Chinese immigrants and American-born Chinese, and most of his conflict stems from his struggle with his own identity. Star is perhaps the biggest victim of injustice in all of the novels we've read, and she is constantly juggling between two personas throughout the novel, Garden Heights Star and Williamson Star. After having read all of the novels in Units 2 and 3, I had observed that my hypothesis was only partially correct. Contrary to my hypothesis, it was a focus on societal injustice and the adversity that comes in attempting to change said society that allowed the subjects of these realistic fiction novels to naturally and realistically achieve intrapersonal growth and maturity. In the concluding chapters of The Hate You Give, Star is able to fully accept her society as being inherently unjust, and it subsequently allows her to find her own voice and confront injustice. The conclusion of The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian ends on a very similar note. Junior is faced with multiple tragedies and deaths before the end of the school year, yet manages to accept himself rather than crumbling under all of the pressure. In American-Born Chinese, Jin abandons his escapist persona of Danny and reconnects with his troubled friend, learning to accept life and to appreciate small joys. While my initial hypothesis about the use of adolescent minorities to help portray social ostracism proved to be true for all of the realistic fiction novels in Units 2 and 3, I failed to foresee how the perceived futility at fighting back against injustice would actually drastically change and enlighten these protagonists for the better. I was pleasantly surprised to find my hypothesis was proven incorrect. The unpredictable nature of these novels greatly contributed to my enjoyment of them. Thank you for listening in.